Oh,
A big welcome, everybody, to our video today. And today I'm having Tafadzo Chakutuma Mauta. She's a teacher, Zimbabwean born, Zimbabwean trained, and she now teaches in New Zealand. She now lives and works in New Zealand with her family. And I thought it's befitting that I have her on this platform. And what an honor, Taffy, because your journey is inspirational. I see all the work that you do. I see all the people that are actually coming after you, after all the information that you share, which is one of the reasons why I was like, I've got to have Taffy here because we need more of that. Our people need more of that, and other people as well, because this is not just limited to Zimbabwe, but everywhere else. If somebody is thinking relocation and is a teacher or any other profession, then New Zealand is another country to look at. So, guys, we've got Taffy today, and she'll be telling us and sharing with us her journey, what inspired her, what is it that she's come across, and also for more in-depth information, opportunities about New Zealand, Taffy, she's on Facebook, she's on YouTube, she's on TikTok, she's everywhere on social platforms. So I'll put your links in the description so that you can also follow her, subscribe to your channel, and begin your relocation journey to New Zealand. So Taffy, before without wasting much of people's time, will you introduce yourself? Who is Taffy? And you know,
hi guys. My name is Taffy. Tafadzana Kutuma Mauta. Apparently, my name is so long, so I prefer to be called Taffy, a Zimbabwean born and bred teacher who relocated to New Zealand in 2023 August. So today marks 1.5 years when I'm right here in New Zealand.
wow, Taffy, it looks like a long time, but not so long. And partly, I'll say this, it's because of all the work that you do, all the people that have actually come since you started talking about it, since you started sharing your journey. And, that is what makes me think Taffy has been there for the longest, but it doesn't matter. Even if you've been there for a day, if your heart is about getting more people over, we love you for that. So, Taffy, tell us something. What really inspired you to relocate, to choose New Zealand of all the places that you could go to? Why New Zealand?
Um, when I started my relocation journey, it was in New Zealand specifically. I tried Australia, I tried Canada, and New Zealand was the third option. So the thing was, when I tried Canada, I couldn't make it because the visa that they offered me was a student visa, which didn't accommodate my family, and I couldn't take it. So because my family comes first. Then, secondly, I tried Australia and their paperwork took longer than I expected. And because of that, I had to drop it. But I did so many things in preparation for the Australian journey. Then, as I was trying to do something for Australia, the New Zealand opportunity came. And I had to grab it with my two hands because I really wanted to move away from Zimbabwe. That's why I'm here right now today.
Wow, that's brilliant. I mean, most people that I do talk to, most people that do share their journeys with me, one of the most common reason between everybody across, regardless of where they relocate to, is I relocated for my children, I relocated for my family. So that stands out. And I do hope one day our children will see these videos, will see what we do, and still be inspired to do more for their own children, and also to understand what has been driving us all along to do what we do, to leave everything else behind and start a life somewhere else that is different. Taffy, we want to get into your journey, your relocation journey. So, what were your first impression of New Zealand? I mean, it's not to take away anything from it, but I also had my own impressions of the UK when I first started here. So, between what you imagined, between everything else that you researched on, what was your first impression of New Zealand when you got there?
When I got here, of course, it was a mixture of emotions. But when it comes to my workplace, I just don't want to lie. It was the best, and it still remains the best. Why? Because the people are accommodative, the people are loving. When I was coming from Zimbabwe, the curriculum that I was used to and the curriculum that I met here are two different things. Therefore, coming here to New Zealand was a plus, especially after meeting my colleagues. So, to be honest, I appreciated and I still appreciate them.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, we relocated to work, and if you relocate and then you are in that environment where you feel welcome, you feel a part and parcel of the team, that's a plus. You know, you cannot take away anything from it. It also helps with settling in. I've got a question for you, Taffy. Just briefly, did you experience any culture shock? If so, how did you handle it? Because new country, you know.
So many culture shocks. The first culture shock was seeing them parking cars in the streets. I was like, huh? Are they parking cars in the streets? Where I'm coming from, to see a car in the street at night, it means all the wheels, the windows, and the glasses, everything that is accessible is gone. But here, it was totally different. And the greatest shock again was seeing New Zealanders going to work in shorts. Where I'm coming from, for you to go to work, you need professional clothes, you need everything that makes you look stunning. But when I came here, it was like techies, shorts, tracksuits. So that really surprised me. I don't want to lie to you.
I mean, it's the little things really, like, the difference. I mean, it was also the same for me when I came here, like work gear and stuff. People just keep it simple. People just keep it to the bare minimum, really. They don't bother with a lot of things. So it makes the whole environment even more relaxed. So I'm glad you
Yes.
you actually have integrated by now. Taffy, we want to go into your teaching experience in New Zealand, in comparison to your teaching experience in Zimbabwe, and so that people can actually see where they fit in and begin to plan their relocation journey as well. How does the education system in New Zealand compare to what you used to teach in Zimbabwe?
Okay, I'm an ECE teacher. So teaching ECD in Zimbabwe, we used planned material. We used the syllabus to teach everything. Our curriculum was more of a teacher-based curriculum. Then when I came here, boom, is the opposite, is playway method. Our our learners learn through play. They do self-discovery, which is something we didn't dwell much when we were home. So I really like the curriculum because I don't have much to deliver to the children. They have much to show me, much of their explorations that I just help to unfold, which is something that I never experienced when I was home. At home, it was more of I'm giving them information and they have to grasp all the information. So being here is something that I really adore.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I come from a teaching background. My mom and dad used to be teachers, so each and every time I would see them, me wake up 2 a.m. and she's writing in a
Skimming.
plan book, scheming and things like that. So, and I know, there are teachers that are going to see this video and they'll benefit a lot in terms of their preparation, in terms of adaptation and everything. It makes you have an insight when you hear it from someone who has actually done it, who is doing it. So thank you so much for that insight.
I can add
So,
up something to that, Fulo,
oh
about the
yes, oh yes.
curriculum. Yeah, like you were saying, back home, everything was handwritten or paper based. When we come to New Zealand, everything is technological. You find everything on your computer. You plan on the computer, you evaluate there, you do everything there, which is different from Zimbabwe. So there is another part of the curriculum which is different from what we were used to when we were home.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I know a lot of people back home are a bit reluctant about technology. It's getting better now, but at least somebody who start preparing to say, I have got to embrace technology. If I'm going to make it in the first world, I've got to embrace technology. So thank you so much for that. Taffy, I'll ask this one because a lot of people have been asking me. A lot of people, I know there are people who came to the UK as carers, but have got a teaching background. And whenever I do say, why do you not go back to teaching? Because it's more or less the same. Yeah, you're dealing with children, you're dealing with pupils, young learners, people that are still growing. So they need the care. It means somehow you care. But I'll ask you this question. What are some of the differences in classroom culture and student behavior that you've noted between what you used to experience in Africa and what you experience now?
Yeah, of course, the kids this side, they are open minded, and it also needs somebody who is open minded. They express themselves so well. But however, I'm teaching the ECE, which means 0 to 5 years. They are so innocent and lovely. If you love them, they love you. The same way we do it home, if you love your kids, they love you. What they want the most is love. Probably I can give the teachers a quote from pertaining attachments by Bowlby. That attachment theory works well this side. If you are attached to your learners, it means you have won their hearts.
Wow, that's the best thing I've had today. And that made me think of one of our own teachers back home. I hope she'll see this video. Nancy Washer, she's lovely. I love what she does. She's added a bit of the other side to teaching that I've not seen. And as you were explaining, like they love to play, they love to they're open-minded. I'm like, this describes, more or less what I see on Nancy Washer's platform. So I think
Yes.
shout out to her as well. So thank you so much for that insight, because a lot of people have got so many theories that they have about children. Of course, we have evolved as a country. There's no more corporal punishment in Zimbabwe for children, because I know during our time, oh yeah, the stick would work. So we've also
Yeah.
adapted. Yeah. So I do have another question for you, Taffy, because I mean, people ask me these things, so I had to write everything down so that I don't leave anything that they want to hear. So, what was the biggest challenge in adapting to the New Zealand education system? What was your challenge? Because I know each and every profession comes with its own challenges, and it's part and parcel of integrating. So, what was your biggest challenge when it came to the education system itself?
To be honest, when we were home, we could do work and sit. It was something that we could do every day. But when we came here, we are working as soldiers. I can give a reference whereby you are taking care of your goats in the fields. You have to check them all the time in the pastures so that they do not go in people's fields. This is exactly what we are doing. Our kids, because they are free rangers, you have to be a soldier, a guard. You have to be everything. Your ears should always be aware. Your eyes should always be open because kids are explorative. So, my main challenge was using these senses at the same time. Being a watchman, being a guard, being a policeman, being a judge, it was so hard for me. I just don't want to lie to you. The first few weeks were so hard for me. My muscles got so painful because you had to stand up the whole day. Since the kids will be running, you have to run with them. You have to do everything with them, which was something that took so long to adapt because I was using different muscles that I had never used when I was home. The other greatest challenge was changing nappies. In the ECE, we change nappies every day. To be honest, in Zimbabwe, nappies are done home, not in the school. So doing the nappies, 20, 30 nappies at a time was so hard for me. But however, I told myself it's just a nappy, nothing special. That's how it was. But definitely it was hard because there was a lot of lifting the kids, helping them to change the nappy and doing all those things. But believe me, When you get used to it, it becomes so easy.
Wow, thank you so much, Taffy, for adding that. Because I mean, a lot of people do not do their research, especially around that, to say, okay, you're gonna do a bit of personal care with your students because it covers a lot of, I think, like you say, those ages from about 18 months, 2 years until 5.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that because at least it sort of like prepares whoever wants to come with that route. It also, I think, helps in someone choosing what sort of teaching they want to explore because I understand there's ECE teaching, there's primary teaching, there's also secondary teaching. So someone would choose what, resonate with their character and everything else.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. Taffy, I've got a question for you. Have you noticed any major differences in the way teachers are trained in New Zealand and how they're supported as compared to how teachers trained in Zimbabwe, the support and everything in their role? Can you highlight a few things maybe that you've noted or a few gaps, if there are any, that you've noted as well?
I have interacted with 3 students that came to our center. So the main difference that I noted was during training, they get enough time to interact with their lecturers when they come for assessment. They are helped so much. Unlike our assessments back home, our assessments are just done 30 minutes and they are gone. But however, we have more teaching practice time than them because I think they have less than a year. In our case, we have teaching practice during the diploma 1 year. In my case, it was 1.5 years. Unlike those who are getting trained now, is 1 year. Then during the degree, another half a year. Then during the masters, another half a year. So our teaching practice is longer. So what am I trying to tell you? Teacher training is the same. What we just need is to suit our skills to the European context, to the Pacifica context, which is different from the African context. Because most of us, when we got trained, our contexts were teacher based. But here it's child based. That's the only difference. But everything else is the same. The theories, everything, we are aligned to each other. So I believe we are best teachers ever.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Taffy, while we're still talking about teacher training and everything, maybe it's fitting that maybe you can share with us some of the qualifications that one would need. Suppose a teacher wants to relocate from Zimbabwe, from Africa. What are the qualifications that they would need? Because I always get asked, like, I've got a diploma in teaching, I've got this much experience in teaching. What are the qualifications that one has for them to be able to relocate as a teacher to New Zealand?
All right. So in our case, as ECE teachers, you need a diploma. Okay. There are 3 ways that you can come. The first
Yes.
one is having a 4 years degree. For example, those who trained with you, Great Zimbabwe, their 4 year degree suits so well. Then for us, who did work and study, you need your 3 year diploma, your 2 year degree, or 3 year degree, either or, you suit so well. Then, those who have a 3 year degree and a master's, that's okay again. So, you can come to New Zealand with those. Then, from South Africa, if you have a 4 year diploma, you suit in so well again. So, there are
Oh,
so many scenarios surrounding this one.
so basically what you're saying, I'll share my experience. Like I told you, my mom and dad are teachers. So
Yes.
so what it means is you going to Morgenstern Teachers College alone is not enough to get your
Yes.
diploma because that's what you get.
Yes.
After your diploma, there are other things that you need to get. Is that
Yes. But for those that have 4 years diplomas, definitely you are level 7. However, if you are unfortunate, your diploma might not be rated properly. But for those that trained in South Africa, I definitely know that you qualify. For Zimbabwe, I haven't met anyone with such a qualification.
Oh, that's amazing then. So I'm sure our viewers will then go on to research. And like I said, guys, for more information on these things, you have to go and follow Taffy. You have to, I'll put the links to your YouTube, links to your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything, because she's on all those platforms. And all she does is talk about how to relocate as a teacher to New Zealand and also other countries. So all the more reasons why people should follow Taffy. Taffy, I think this brings us to my next question for you. You have touched on the qualification bit, what people need to acquire in terms of qualifications. Are there any additionals? Because I know when we were coming to the UK, there were system requirements like your IELTS and everything. Can you highlight some of the requirements for teachers? We have touched on the educational bit, the qualification bit. What are the other requirements that one would need for them to be able to relocate as a teacher to New Zealand?
Okay, so you need to, after evaluating your qualifications, you need to register with the teaching council. So what are the teaching council expectations? What do they require from you? They require your English academic, which is PTE or IELTS. I think there are other types of English, but I don't know much about them. I just know much about these two. So for PTE, you need to have 65 across all elements, that is listening, speaking, writing, and reading. Then for IELTS, you also need 7.5 across all elements, speaking, reading, and listening again. Then after writing your English, you have to have a lot of paperwork, which includes crits, letters, recommendation letters from the heads, among other requirements. But basically, that's all. Teacher registration. So when you do that, when you have all that, you can register as a teacher. So after teacher registration is taking, on their platform, they said 8 weeks is the maximum, but it's taking longer apparently. So basically, that's what you need to register as a teacher. So your English is the main requirement.
Oh, that's amazing. Then I mean, obviously, timescales differ based on maybe the amount of traffic. Because remember, this pathway has been open for a while. So now it's like everyone wants to use the same platform. So they could be overwhelmed. I always say that about people wanting to
Definitely.
relocate to the UK on a K visa. I tell them times have changed. I know when we came and people coming now, there are a lot of changes along the way. And, it's expected. And again, one of the things that I always do share with our viewers and subscribers is the fact that relocation is a patience journey. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a 2 minutes noodle thing. You've got to be
No.
somebody who is very patient with the system, patient with yourself, and patient with the other people that you're working with as well, so that you don't burn out with frustration. So thank you so much for adding that. Taffy, I know you're an expert when it comes to this, and I know people are coming. I saw your post just this morning that 8 people so far have come just this year. We are not even adding to all the other, and these are Zimbabwean, all the other people that we know. Taffy, there's a question I want you to maybe help us with. Can you also help us understand the type of pathways that are open for New Zealand in terms of teachers? I know you are in ECE. That's another pathway. What are the other pathways for teachers to relocate to New Zealand? And also, maybe during that time, can you also add on some of the in-demand qualifications for teachers to relocate to New Zealand as well?
All right. So firstly, let me talk about the primary school. I've realized that one of my former colleagues from Shirugwi relocated as a primary school teacher, but she was trained in South Africa, and she was explaining how hard it was for her to get a job, but she came. So for the primary school, the qualifications are the same, your diploma, your degree, uh, but it takes longer, and it's not as rushy as it is in the ECE. Then for high school, the subject areas that I'm so familiar with are sciences, maths, physics, and chemistry. Those are in demand. But at the same time, high school doesn't rush as well. You take your time. Your patience is tested and refined.
Wow. Thank you
Yes.
so much for that. Yeah, thank you so much for that insight, because I know people do. As I was reflecting about this conversation that we're going to have today, I was just like, one of the reasons, not just to say people need to relocate and stuff for their families and stuff, but I was like, this is more of if somebody is in high school, or if somebody's just finished high school and they're looking into career guidance, what is it that I need to choose as a career pathway? What is it that I need to study in preparation for the future? These are some of the things that they need to understand. Say there are areas in which if you study you don't struggle. There are areas, I mean, I was talking to a few teachers a few weeks ago to say, you know what, you're a diploma holder. If you start now with your masters or with your first degree, I mean, in early childhood learning, in 3 years you'll be done and you can relocate. So it's not about you saying, oh, I did my diploma and then I'll sit. You can start a qualification and still be able to relocate. There's nothing that should stop one from pursuing their journey. So thank you so much for highlighting all those things that people need. Taffy, I'll go on to talk about your experience in settling in, because it's one of the things that are quite topical. I know I live in the UK and it's always one issue after another when it comes to settling, integrating, and understanding the culture. It's a bit, yeah. So, how did you integrate into the New Zealand community? What are some of the things that you have been doing to make sure that you integrate, you fit in?
To be honest, it's so hard to mix and mingle with the New Zealanders because definitely they have their own circles. So, just like everybody else, you just keep your small circles to be safe, and all the others are acquaintances and countrymen. I think basically that's all I can say. Because definitely you can't befriend everybody. Therefore, you see other people as just colleagues or countrymen just to keep safe.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I mean, you give things time, you give relationships time, and everything else will fall in place eventually. I've got a
Yes.
question for you. You know, people want to know. People always ask me these questions whenever I say, guys, I want to bring in someone. Can you share your thoughts? Share what you want to hear from them. And one of the questions I got was, how did your students and colleagues react to having a teacher from Africa? Were there other teachers who are African in that center where you work, or you were the first one? And how did they react, your students particularly?
Okay, for my students, it was so easy because I know how to smile. But for the parents, it was something else. For my colleagues, it was awesome. Of course, I was the first Black person.
Oh,
Yes, in the center. Then later on, two students joined. So we were three Black people in the center. So it became easier and easier. But however, for the parents, it took them so long to understand that I'm now part of the teacher. So they would just pass through and give their usual teachers their kids. And I would always tell myself, that's part of relocation. They will gradually understand that I'm here to stay, I'm not going anywhere. So later, the kids started liking me more. And when the parents came in, the kids would run to me. Probably because, like I was telling you, if you give love, you receive love. If you give anger, you receive anger. If you give enmity, you receive enmity. So that's all I can say to people who are moving into new environments. Definitely, it will be very hard for the communities to receive a Black person. But just remember to be human, to smile, and to love with all that you won't go wrong.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, because I know a lot of people, they love to use the race word, of which I've grown to understand, because I live in rural England. I live in the back of the back of the back, where again you're always the very, very minority. It's, I've met people who would be open with me and say, "Do you know, you're the first black person I've
Ah,
actually had to
yes.
sit with and talk to like this." I've seen black people when I go down south, or when I visit, or when I go abroad, but like to sit and talk like this, you're the first, not because they are racist, but it's where they live. They've never had the exposure.
Yeah. And
Meet you, discover how amazing you are. It's just absolutely beautiful.
yes, and Florence, if I tell you that the worst scenario I ever met was in the mall, and I think I was 2 days older in New Zealand, and an old man came to me and said, "Hi, where are you from?" And I was like, I was smiling, trying to be nice because most of the New Zealanders smile. And I was like, "I'm from Zimbabwe." And I was like, which part of Zimbabwe are you from? And I was, which part of Africa are you from? And I was like, "I'm from Zimbabwe in the southern part of Africa, blah, blah," trying to explain. And you know what he said? He said, "Oh, so do you have toilets in Africa? Do you know how to use toilets?" I read on another piece of news that you use bushes in Africa. And I was like, we don't even have toilets in Africa. But I started laughing. And he realized that what he said was wrong. And he was like, okay, anyway, it was just a crazy question. Definitely, I really wanted to know because the news that I read were showing me that Africa does not have toilets. Africa does not have anything good, because of that negative postage that we see on social media, on the news. It happens, but I always tell people that try to make everything lighter. But definitely after that incident, I went home and cried, and I was like, so does it really show that we might not even be knowing how to use the toilet? But I told myself that's part of relocation.
It is, Taffy. And like I said, it's not to say that person is a nasty person, but it's a very genuine
No.
a question. I've taken it upon myself to say, whenever somebody asks me a question about Zimbabwe, about Africa, I always take five minutes to explain, make them understand, and educate people. And it's just
Yes.
amazing, because I also shared to say, until I came over, I had not really worked with a white person. I'd not worked with a white person. So I mean, I could also come across the same way. I had so many questions. I would touch them, like proper touch them to, do they,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So it's not to say they are nasty or racist, but they're just curious
Yes.
people. They want to know who you are, what you prefer, what you eat, and things like that. So I think, Taffy, that brings us to our next question. Um, has this journey actually changed you personally and professionally? Because I mean, it's a big step to relocate. Has it changed you personally and professionally, this whole experience on your journey?
Definitely, it changed me. It changed my life. It changed my perspectives as a person. Firstly, when I relocated to New Zealand, I learned to be as soft as possible. Those who worked with me back home, they would know that I was so confrontational. But when I came here, I learned the best way to deal with issues. Why? Because that's the norm. That's how they deal with issues. Then, secondly, I can't compare the third world and first world. Definitely, I can't. Why? Because the standards of learning, the quality of resources that we have, the quality of the buildings that we are using. Of course, they are not cement like what we are used to from home, but just the general look tells you that what we are doing is quality. And the other thing that I learned, I think definitely you know how we pronounce certain words when we are home. I was always like, time yasli, and which other words? Probably at some point I said oro, and at some point I might have said pure. You know what I mean? But coming here refined me. Of course, I'm not
I
best, but I try really hard to say the best words as I can. So it refined me in so many aspects, in so many elements. Even studying, when I think of studying, I have seen so many things that I can do in my study, which I never saw when I was home, like the spectrums I can see, the autism spectrums, which we never had because we do not have the machines to test. We do not have the professionals back home, probably because of the salaries and other things. We just have them in name, but they are not doing what they are supposed to do, probably because they are constrained with resources. So I've seen so many things that I never witnessed home. If there is an autistic child, he is supported. He is done, all tests are done, which is something that I liked, that I never witnessed all my life as a teacher in Zimbabwe. I taught in Zimbabwe for 17 years.
Oh, that's beautiful, and I do hope someday our country, our education system will get there. It's just a prayer and just fingers crossed. Taffy, I've got a
Yes.
question for you. This has been a journey, and obviously it's still a journey because there's more coming. There's a lot of things happening. Is there anything that you would do differently if you were to relocate today? Is there anything that you do differently on your journey?
Yeah, I would have limited my interactions, probably because sometimes when you interact a lot, you get so much negative energy. So if I could go back in time, I think I would have just helped people and reduced all interactions. I just help you, and when you are there, I say thank God, because sometimes interactions bring negative energy that can pull us down and make us forget our intentions as people.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And also it's a learning curve. It's we always learn every day. That's how we grow. That's how we become better. That's how we probably need that's what we need probably for us to be able to refocus, realign with our goals and everything else. Taffy, I know it's you're now in your third year. Is it second in your
Second.
second year in New Zealand? So obviously
Yeah.
you'll be thinking growth and everything. um have you got have you seen anything that you fancy, probably just to give, maybe as a form of an insight into a young teacher, young professional who is wanting to relocate? What are other opportunities in the teaching field when you relocate to New Zealand and the first world? Do you see any progression, any pathways that actually people can pursue with
Yeah,
teaching?
I think as teachers we have so many areas to explore. We can do special needs. We can also do, I think, educational psychology. However, it does not take you to the classroom. But I think it's so useful, not only in New Zealand, but in other countries. And for science teachers, maths teachers, just remember to further your studies. Having your master's degree doesn't hurt. And even for my fellow ECD teachers, Having your bachelor's degree, your master's degree doesn't hurt. Why? Because it gives you so many opportunities to explore in the world, to explore in New Zealand, Canada, Australia, America. Just remember, special needs is hot in Australia. ECE is hot in Australia and New Zealand. Special needs again is hot in America, and also primary school teachers, science math teachers, America is also calling you as hard as they can.
Wow, thank you so much, Taffy. I mean, you've touched on some of the things that I was going to ask you in my next question, because I think
Oh,
you have given us an insight into your journey. You have shared with us all the experiences. I think basically, if somebody is thinking relocation, this is, I mean, basic orientation, basic induction, basic insight into the journey itself and everything else that one would need. Obviously, we cannot exhaust everything here. No wonder why, if you're a teacher, you need to be following Taffy. You need to go and subscribe to her channel, and you need to go everywhere else, follow her, because the nuggets keep coming and everything. But Taffy, before you go, before I let you go, I know I'll bring you again on this platform, because I mean there's so much that we have to share with our people. There's so much that we need to, you know, to get our people to know about the diaspora journey. What is it that you, any final words of encouragement or wisdom for aspiring teachers and immigrants, as far as the diaspora is concerned, you know, from you to them?
all right. Dear teachers, studying doesn't hurt. Books do not kill you. If you want to make it, just remember to study. Secondly, relocation is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not a walk in the park. But when you engage in the journey, when you start the journey, you will make it. It needs resilience. It needs patience. It also tests how you perceive issues. So remember, if you are intending to relocate, you have to be very patient. On the third note, as a relocated teacher, just remember to do the right thing. There are so many things that we experience here that can push us to the edge, but our humanity will not allow us to do anything wrong to the learner, to our neighbor, or to our friend. So I also want to thank you for being the best people you are. Just remember to be good. Thank you, Fulo.
Thank you so much, Taffy. You know, you said something really important, that, you know, my parents always told me, like, a good name is better than anything. And it's the name that we should carry along in whatever that we do. It should be at the core of what we do. Just doing good and being kind. I know you always share on kindness. You always share on compassion and all things good. So thank you so much for saying it once more. And I think, just to add on what you said, as far as studying, hard work is concerned, it's getting competitive every day to relocate. And one thing that I'm sure of as a relocation enthusiast is that I think opportunities are just now opening up everywhere. So what that
Yes.
means is preparation is key. And as we prepare, always seek to be the best amongst everybody else. Seek to have that additional edge over everyone else. And there's no additional edge that surpasses a good qualification, a better qualification. And like you said, love learning, love education, love upgrading, and you never struggle on your relocation journey. You can move to this country and realize, oh no, I want to move to another
I
one,
don't
and
want
you not
it.
struggle
Yeah.
when you've got the right qualifications. You always be selling like hotcakes. So Taffy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being on my platform. And as usual, you're always welcome here. And we look forward to seeing you once again as we share your journey, because it's an evolving journey. It's one that we want to explore with you. And just know that us as a platform, we want to walk this journey with you. So we'll constantly be inviting you here to come and share as we progress, and there's more. Guys, if you're watching to this end, go and subscribe, go and follow everywhere. Taffy Chakutuma Taffy, go and follow
Mauta.
her. I'll put the handles in the description, guys. Thank you so much for being with us, and continue following and subscribing to our channel. We'll see you in our next video as we bring value. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.